So welcome to the second episode of ProperTea with Vitaliy. This is a brand new podcast where we will be drinking tea and chatting about property with Vitaliy. My name is Lee and I know nothing about property investment, and I will be quizzing Vitaliy every month to find out everything Vitaliy knows about property investments. And anything he doesn't know, Vitaliy is going to find out. Every month, we will be discussing a range of topics to do with property investment, everything from how to get started in property to best tips on investing in a fixer-upper. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing the different types of property investment and which one is best for beginners. So let's get into the podcast. So I'm looking at my first question, Vitaliy, and I realize I actually need to ask you about tea. Are you drinking any tea today?
Yes, I am.
What tea have you got with you today? Is it the famous Yorkshire tea?
Yeah, famous Yorkshire tea. Yeah, with the milk. Yeah,
with the milk
and 2 sugars. Yeah,
with milk and 2 sugars.
Yeah,
like a proper builder.
Yeah, sometimes I like actually with a condensed milk as well. Instead of just milk and sugar, you put condensed milk. It's really nice. It's very sweet and kind of rich taste. Well, it's I
sometimes, when I used to drink coffee with sugar, actually Janae, my wife, introduced me condensed milk, and you don't need the sugar because the milk is already a bit sweet. Very nice. I recommend coffee with condensed milk. It's really nice.
Yeah, definitely, coffee is very nice as well. Yeah, with the condensed milk.
So how are you, Vitaliy? How was your Happy New Year to you? This is the beginning
to you too.
2021, and we're recording this just at the end of, we had Christmas and we're in new lockdown in the UK, aren't we? Strange times.
Yeah, very strange time. Yeah, and actually today my wife doing a COVID test, because last week I met with potential clients, and it's basically a couple, husband and wife. And 3 days later, they emailed to me to say, Vitaliy, I'm really sorry. We had a COVID. We didn't know.
Yeah.
So maybe I have a COVID now, but my wife doing tests today.
Doing her test.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that we're seeing. We're being told that these infection rates are high, and it's different to last time. Last time we would hear stories of other people, but now I'm hearing lots of friends and family, colleagues who are testing positive. It is true. We're definitely seeing more of it around, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. This morning, I received a text message from my niece. She's living in Ireland, Northern Ireland. She'd been tested positive yesterday, and her little son been tested positive as well. And they assume husband as well has a COVID now. So it's definitely more around. Yeah.
In terms of Christmas, obviously it was hard to see family and friends. Were you able to celebrate, you and your family, your kids, your wife, able to celebrate in some way?
Yes, we had a very quiet and very nice Christmas. We didn't have to, because quite often Christmas in our house, or we go to my parents-in-law house.
Okay.
So usually it's quite busy Christmas, but this year it was very quiet and without a rush. And New Year, we had a really good fun, actually. We had a Zoom with our friends. Our friends organized a game, Murder Mystery. And it was about, 7 families on Zoom, and we played. And this was really, really good fun. We spent about 3 hours on Zoom.
Cool. I wish I'd done that. That sounds like a good way to spend New Year, where virtually. Best way to do it. That's the best idea I've heard of how to spend New Year without meeting people. So in the intro, I mentioned that we are asking you everything you know about property investment, but I know from when we've talked that you're keen to point out that you are also learning things about property investment yourself. That you don't know everything. It's still a journey for you.
Yes.
Which is why we say everything Vitaliy knows about property, and anything he doesn't know, he's going to find out. Is there something new that you recently found out that you'd love to share with us?
Yes. Well, I have a really amazing journey because I started beginning of last year,
Yeah.
my journey in property investment. And I'm with three different academies, property academies, where I learn about properties because I really would like to learn properly how it's done. And even though you can find lots of on YouTube, amazing content about property investment, but I believe you need to invest into yourself, into your education, be educated in properties. But at the moment, what I really learn amazing things about property. When you work with people, you need to think about how you can add value first to people, how you can resolve their problem if they have a pain with, let's say, it's anything can happen with people's life. People maybe, I don't know, parents passed away and you inherited property. And now you think, oh my gosh, what to do with this property? Maybe this property, because especially at the moment, well, market can crash. At the moment, market is blooming, of course. Or people, unfortunately, people divorce sometimes. And if people divorce and they try and split the house and they try and sell the house. So this kind of pain, people have this sort of pain. And you come and you help people resolve this problem with win situations for them and win for you as well. So it's amazing to think this way when you can come and first think how you can bring value, how you can help people, not just how I can make money.
That's really interesting because I think we forget when we think about property investment, or I think, how do I invest my money into property rather than, at the moment we're trying to buy a house instead of renting. And I think we forget that it's about providing people with something in the way that you're saying. It's about providing people a place to live, first of all, isn't it?
Yeah, they invest safely. Because world is, well, I don't want to say greedy, but it looks about money. But it's great if you run business. And I come across now so many people who is related to property and see how people try and help each other. Like, I don't know so many things. And people, if I put a tech message on social media and people come back to me with more experience and they will give me advice. They will even say, I can give you a call and help you. It's amazing. It's amazing to see how many good people willing to help you.
Genuinely wanting to help. So when it comes to property investment and types of property, my own knowledge goes as far as I kind of just articulated of buying a house to live in. And that's kind of an investment, isn't it? Or buying a property to rent out to someone else. Can you describe what the main types of property investment are and what the other types of property investment are? Can you unpack that a bit for us?
Yes. So probably most of the people think that's the way how to invest, buy property and rent it out, which is, yes, it's a very good strategy as well. But it's much more strategies. Like, one of the strategies, as you already mentioned, it's buy property and let as a single let, or buy property and let as HMO, multiple occupation, basically renting for people, unrelated people. Also, where you can buy to refurbish, refinance, and rent. Or another strategy, buy at the value and sale. It's called flips. Okay. Or even at the moment, it's lots of property investors buying commercial buildings like offices, old offices buildings, and converting, because you can buy much cheaper now, and converting into apartments, which is amazing strategy and amazing, but you definitely need experience for that. And lease option, for example, when people end up with the properties. They, let's say, paid £100,000, let's say 3, 4, whatever, how many years ago. And today market dropped, for example, and now their property cost only £8,000. But today they're desperate to rid of this property. And what to do? So then it's called lease option, when people can, like property investor can come and get a contract with a vendor, and you can control this property, let's say for the 5-7 years, rent it out. So basically, what the benefit for vendor, owner of the property, he can completely move this property to the investor. Investor will pay mortgage, investor will pay everything for the 7 years. And in 7 years, property investor will pay the asking price, what the asking price today, let's say £100,000 person would like for the house. But so investor would say, okay, I will give you £100,000, but in 7 years. But for this 7 years, you don't have to worry about the property. I will pay your rent, mortgage, and I will rent it out the property. So that's another good option for, this is how you can resolve a pain for someone whose property lower than when they invested into property.
Just on what you were saying about those different types, going back to the office building one, because I would imagine at the moment, and especially as we come out of this COVID pandemic, that there's going to be more opportunities to buy offices to convert, because so many businesses are going remote work, aren't they? So there's going to be a lot of
definitely
empty buildings, I would imagine.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm walking around, like, for example, it's Kingston next to me, Kingston on Thames. Yeah. And it used to be 2 massive, well, pretty big buildings, office buildings. And now I can see already it's been someone converting into apartments. Yeah. Because I'm sure even when COVID will leave this planet, probably it will become normal when lots of office people will work from home. So probably lots of office buildings will become empty from now on. And it's a great opportunity for property investors.
So out of the types of property you just described, what are the more popular ones with investors, and why are they popular?
Yeah, it's a great question. In my personal opinion, I think it's 2 very popular properties. One is buy a property and convert into HMO. That's how you will get much higher return on your investment. And another great strategy is to buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent. Again, you can get, because when you buy a property at the value, so properties much more in value now. So you can when you refinance, you can take most of your money, or sometimes even all of your money, which you invested, and then you rent it out. So this is how you can achieve really good return on your investment. And another strategy is very popular, rent to rent. It's when basically you find a tired landlord, and then you rent it out from this landlord. So you control the property and make a profit, basically.
The landlord still owns the property.
Yes.
So you're kind of subletting it, and then you're managing the letting of it.
Exactly.
So you don't have to put the money up to actually buy the property.
Exactly. Yeah. It's quite cheap entrance into property investment business, because you don't have to invest that much money. It's probably about £5,000 enough to start this.
So I imagine, is it like with that model, you would rent the property from the landlord for 12 months? And that's where you would need your capital?
Yeah, usually you would rent at least 3 years.
Oh, okay.
But better like 5, let's say 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
Because
So
at the beginning, you will invest into, let's say, maybe refurnish the property, or maybe some light decoration or light refurbishment has to be done. So the first year or two, you will basically all profit will go against what you already spent,
yeah.
and then you will start make money. So I would say, yeah, 3 years minimum.
So that's a good model for someone who doesn't have a huge amount to go and buy a property, but has tens of thousands of pounds, where they could use that model to get a property and then manage it and rent it out and earn from it.
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you say is the best type of property investment for a beginner? Does budget play a part in determining which is best for a beginner?
Yes. For the beginner, probably I would say by the simplest strategy and more straightforward and easier to understand and predict your return on investment and how much you will spend. It's probably buy to let as a single let.
Okay.
And it's only will be one tenant, I don't know, family, yeah, or so it will be a good taster. It's good to start with this strategy and see how it goes, basically. So you buy a property in a good area with a good demand, rental demand. That's very important, obviously. But if you've done your numbers right and you found property in a good area, in decent condition, where you don't have to spend that much into renovations, then and then you rent it out and see how it goes.
Why is it called single let? Is it because it's your only property, or is it because it's only one family or person renting it, or is it both? Does single let mean it's your first let?
Single let, it means basically it could be a single person living in the house or a family, basically all related people.
Not from different
families, like unrelated, like
unrelated.
HMO, for example. It can be whatever, how many, 3, 4, 5, 6
strangers.
Depends on strangers,
complete
and
strangers.
They live,
So talking of HMO, can you tell us a bit more about HMO and why is HMO so popular with investors?
Yes, so HMO, because you can get really good return on your investment, and it's an amazing strategy when you can buy a property and convert into. So let's say you buy rundown property, I don't know, 3-4 bedroom house, and you can convert into. Let's say, you can put extra bedroom to like 1 or 2 bedrooms and convert into HMO. And it's very popular, because you can get a good return on your investment. But again, it's very important to know because it's Article 4 areas, for example. You need to know if it's an Article 4 and also convert into, like, put a fire doors, fire alarms. So it's a bit deeper than just to say return on investment. It's a bit more strategic and more, I would say, hustle, because there's more tenants and adults sometimes behave like children. I heard stories when people, because normally, quite often, people would pass to a management office and they will manage your HMO. But if you manage yourself trying to save money, it's can be quite difficult when people ringing you like at night saying, I don't know, John took my milk from the fridge, can you call him? And sometimes landlord have to call and like remind them, come on guys, you're adults, can you deal between yourselves?
But I can imagine that can be, those are the kind of problems and issues you can have. I can imagine. I mean, I lived in student accommodation and I can remember some of the fights we used to have. So I can imagine that being the case and something that a landlord would have to manage or outsource to a letting agent to do. I guess one of the benefits with HMO is that if one of the tenants leaves, you've only got to find a tenant for that one room rather than fill the whole property. Is that one of the reasons why HMO is attractive?
Yes, yeah. And of course, it depends. What is your strategy? Are you are you letting to professionals, or are you letting to students? Again, it's all depends on your strategy with the HMO. But yes, exactly. If one tenant moved out, let's say you have 5 tenants, one moved out, so you have to fill up only one room, but other 3 or 4, whatever, how many rooms is still going and generate income.
Would it be a good idea for a beginner to start with a HMO, or is that something to think about once you've built up your portfolio, started with a single let? Is a HMO not for beginners?
I would not say it's not for the beginners. Probably any strategy is, but the first thing I would say, of course, very important, educate yourself. Basically, make sure you understand and you know what you're doing, because the whole idea, you would like to invest and make money and build your successful business rather than jump into something and then realize, oh my gosh, I made so many mistakes. My personal opinion, it's better to start with a single let and experience that, and maybe single let and manage yourself rather than management office.
Yeah.
Just for your experience, just to experience and get a knowledge, experience, and become used to, because not everyone would like to deal with the tenants. Like, for example, I would prefer personally to buy, refurbish, and sell the property.
Yeah.
Or buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent to maybe a single let, because I heard, it can be a nightmare with the tenants. But I would say, it depends on your knowledge and on your experience. As a first strategy, as a first experience, I think it can be a bit overwhelming, like
a bit daunting. Okay. Yeah, that's good advice. What do you think of buying a rundown single let that needs refurbishment? So a property that's already been let out but needs refurbishing. Are there good opportunities there?
Well, yeah, definitely good opportunities. Yeah, that's how you can buy a property a bit cheaper than full asking price, because the idea is, when you buy rundown property, that's the reason why your offer is lower below the market value. That's very important, because it doesn't really matter asking price, but what is true value of the property. And if property is run down, obviously, you can buy cheaper to manage to add the value and then refinance, hopefully, and get, if not all, then most of your money. And then again, return on investment, because of that, return on investment will be much greater, much higher than you buy in good condition property. You paid full asking price, then obviously return on investment will be much smaller, much less.
Is that one of the keys to being successful at property investment, to always buy for less than the market value?
Yes, definitely. That's the idea. That's the idea. When you buy below market value, like, for example, when you buy in a property, it's great if from day one you can get equity in the property. Let's say, because when you will refinance or when you take a mortgage, usually it's about 75% bank will lend to you. So 25% you invest. And if you can buy let's say single let, if we're talking about 25% below true market value. So from 25%, day one,
25% less. Wow.
Well, if you can, if you can, or 20, that in ideal world, 25%. So in a day one, you already have an equity in your property. So you can basically, in about 6 months, if it's just a traditional mortgage, not bridging mortgage, but traditional mortgage, you can refinance in about 6 months. So then you can refinance in 6 months and pull out your deposit, if not all, maybe then most of your deposit and recycle, but put into another property and do it again and again and again and again. That's the idea.
Okay. Vitaliy, I see we're going to need to do a whole episode on strategies to buy properties under the market value.
Right. Yeah.
So in terms of budget, what is the minimum budget an investor needs for investing in any of the types of properties we discussed? Is it possible to get started with, for example, £50,000?
Yes. Yeah. Well, of course, budget is very important. It depends. It will control where you can invest. Obviously, for example, in London, £50 is not much unless you start rent to rent for strategy when you control the property. But if you would like to buy a house in London, it's property is much more expensive. But for example, if you go sort of Midlands or up north, basically, yes, I think £50,000 will be enough for you to find a property in decent condition and buy as a single let.
Okay.
And £50,000, it should be enough. Yeah. If you will find a property, let's say for £100,000, and then your deposit will be £25,000 plus legals and maybe some light renovation, maybe repaint or change carpets. So it will cost you maybe altogether, let's say £40,000, between £30,000 and £40,000. So yeah, it will be a good first probably strategy to invest if you have £50,000 and think about buy as a single let.
Before we finish the podcast, Vitaliy, can I ask you one more question? This wasn't on our script. And the question is, do you have any property predictions, as we're coming out of the pandemic? Are there things you're expecting to happen either in London or Birmingham? Are you expecting prices to fall or stay the same? Do you have any predictions? Are we seeing more people move out of London, for example, and into the countryside? Is that what you're seeing or hearing?
Well, what I'm hearing, it's because at the moment it's stamp duty holiday. And so that's why one of the reasons why property market is really crazy.
Yeah.
But in March, stamp duty holiday will finish.
Yeah.
And follows as well will stop in March. So property investors predict by end of this year or beginning of maybe next year, prices will start falling, basically, will go down on the properties. So that's sort of prediction. Yeah, end of this year or beginning next year, property market will go down.
Thank you for that. So thanks so much for listening to this episode of Property with Vitaliy. Thank you, Vitaliy, for all your insights.
Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you.
And if you would like Vitaliy to help you find properties to invest in, head over to vitaliygromov.com or simply type that into Google and sign up to get Vitaliy's investment opportunities sent direct to your inbox. But that's it for now, and we will chat to you again in a future episode.